Many have heard of Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0, but not so many have watched it or have the desire to watch the whole thing. After all, there are 27 episodes. So let's go through episode by episode and see what happens. By the way, I really like Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. Yami Yugi is here the real king of the games. A researcher finds the Millennium Puzzle in Egypt and gets a heart attack as a reward, just so that Yugi can assemble it in school. At least he has time for that, because there's nobody else he can play with. Luckily, Joey comes by and plays "Get the box if you can, you little idiot" with him. Tristan and Tia end the game early. New game, Bring Miho Something to Eat, where Joey and Tristan meet their school custodian Yugioh on the way. And Joey is clearly still a bit retarded here at the beginning. He pulled off a piece of Yugi's puzzle and threw it into the river. If Yugi were to solve the puzzle, it would grant him a wish. However, how absolutely stupid he is about it, it's obvious why it takes him more than 8 years to do it. The next day, Joey and Tristan were beaten by Yugioh because the two of them annoyed Yugi. Cost then only $1,500, even if Yugi didn't want that at all. While he's thinking about paying with credit or as, he has finished his puzzle. Everything except for that one piece. So quickly back to school, where he's intercepted by Yugioh and beaten for not being able to pay. Joey and Tristan come back with the last piece, give it to Yugi and fight with Yugioh until Yugi solves the puzzle and joins in. Yami takes over, who wants to play a shadow game right away. Both are now attached to ropes and only ever come up, depending on which card they have revealed. Yami wins, Yugioh breaks the rules, so Yami breaks him. And in the end, Joey and Yugi are friends. Someone watched too much Prison Break and is now broken out of prison. Since then, Tia has also been acting strangely. And Joey knows what's going on. She's prostituting herself. But to be on the safe side, Mio follows her. The escapee has no luck breaking in. Everything was already empty. The next day, Mio goes home with Tia. Clear thing, also she's now a prostitute. Tristan is now following them. Again, the burglar has no luck and steals only garbage. The next day, Tristan goes home with the two. Maybe he does it now with rich women. So after them. But the three only work in a burger store. Actually boring if the burglar wouldn't have come by. Caught him, it comes out that the boss of the store is the real thief who lives up to his reputation. Steals the gun and takes Tia hostage. After she gets slapped, Yami wants to join in and comes out. And so, it's game on. Everyone is only allowed to move one finger now. Guy takes his index finger to still be able to use his print. Yami takes his thumb to light his cigarette and drop the lighter on his hand to make him break the rules and use other fingers to not burst into flames. Too bad the punishment is that he bursts into flames. At least in his head. Kaiba and two bodyguards beat up a student on the roof of the school in the evening to get the Dark Magician. Duel Monsters is now the latest shit at school, and as luck would have it, Kaiba is the exchange student at school and gets to sit right next to Yugi. Quickly befriended, and at Kaiba's home he shows them his card collection. But no, Yugi is also supposed to show his rare cards. Sheesh! Agumon! Kaiba wants the blue eyes, grandfather says no. Another try, Yugi is supposed to bring the card to school again, so Kaiba can see it again, but he exchanged it with a fake one, which Joey and Tristan notice, but don't tell Yugi, instead they try to get it back themselves. A little beaten up, Yugi comes along, who had noticed it too, but had believed in the goodness of Kaiba. Big mistake. He gets a suitcase to the head and is beaten up by the bodyguard. He beats up the two bodyguards and asks Kaiba what time it is. Ha! It's time for a fucking duel! With a summon skull, it already looks like Yami has won. If Kaiba wouldn't cheat, just pull the blue eyes out of his pocket and summons him right away. But he doesn't like Kaiba at all. His heart is tied to that of Yugi's grandfather. For some reason, Yugi now loses all but 50 life points and the blue eyes simply dissolves. Yugi gets it back with monster reanimation and Kaiba can only get a draw out of it and has disappeared into thin air. Tristan is supposed to buy a limited edition watch for Miho. He has to take a piss, is replaced by Yugi, who gets the last one and is harassed by a jerk. He collects rare watches and now insists on his right to get this watch, for whatever reason. But he's chased away. The thief doesn't give up, stalks our friends and steals the watch from Tristan in the toilet, which makes Miho sad. The thief is really not the brightest and provokes our friends with it. Yugi has noticed it and is on the thief's trail. First he gets beaten again, then Yami comes and wants to play a game. If the thief wins, the watch is his. even though it doesn't really belong to either of them. In the process, he's not at all surprised that the whole room suddenly looks completely different. The rules: the stopwatch goes off and whoever stops it closer to 10 seconds wins. Thief makes it 9:35, Yami 9:95. Thief wants a rematch with a change of sides, but doesn't make it and gets clipped by the pendulum. He also doesn't want to admit defeat and becomes a running clock himself as punishment. At least now he knows all the time what time it is. The thief also destroys then his entire collection of clocks. Our friends meet at an Egyptian exhibition where grandfather reunites with his old colleague from America. For this special exhibition, Yugi even puts his puzzle at his disposal for a day. They go through the museum tour and even see a mummy where Yugi meets Shadi. The friends leave while Yugi wants to wait another half an hour so he can get his puzzle back. The director actually wanted to sell the puzzle if Shadi hadn't intervened. He's a guardian of Anubis who doesn't want to accept that the director desecrates one grave after the other with his expeditions. He looks with his scale whether the feather of truth weighs more than his sins. One question after another is answered untrue, so Monster Amir comes along and snacks him as a punishment. Shadi meets Yugi, who can't believe that Yugi has reassembled the puzzle, so he makes a trip to Yugi's inner room where he meets Yami and plays a game. When Shadi discovers the real room from him, he tells him the secret of the puzzle. In doing so, Shadi wants to use his ability to control the will of the other person, which he ends up not doing so. Instead, he goes through one door after another, almost getting crushed, washed away or roasted because of it, and almost falling a bit. But Yami helps him up so he can leave again. He gives Yugi back the puzzle and says goodbye. But not for so long. Shadi continues with his visits. The next violator is grandfather's friend who jumps out of the window. However, the defeat against Yami still burns so hard in him that he uses Tia to get closer to Yugi. He manages to be absolutely unnoticed. Also, his approaches with knocking over bars, throwing Yugi down the stairs with a basketball, or trying to strangle him are rather, well, still kind of notable. Strangling Yugi or trying to kill him probably won't get Yami out. So plan B. Bring Tia close to suicide. This really gets Yami out and plays the game with Shadi. Every time Yami shows a weakness from his heart, a sarcophagus breaks and Tia sinks further into death. However, once Shadi's statue of the heart breaks, Tia is saved. First round, the slightly different memory. 9 hidden boards, of which Yami has to guess the picture in the middle, without turning over any of the others. The stone tablets reflect the picture of Amit. Amit has 2 eyes, hands, ears and nostrils, but only 1 mouth, and that is also the picture. Next round, Evil Joey is summoned to continue playing with Yami. Where the puzzle points, the opponent must go there. Before the abyss, however, Yami firmly believes in friendship with Joey, which is why Joey stops playing and dissolves. Joey helps Tia not to fall. Shadi is probably afraid of friendship and thus loses his statue, which frees Tia again, and together everyone is saved. Shadi takes the key off again and declares Yugi king of the games. Kushirada has become an absolutely honorless idiot ever since he got his hands on some money. At school, Tamagotchi is the latest shit where everyone is involved except for Tristan, who's only involved when the simp is supposed to breed one for Miho, so that she wins a trip to Australia. A classmate is apparently being bullied by Kushirada, which Yugi overhears and gives him his Tamagotchi to play with. A golden Tamagotchi comes out, which Kushirada immediately grabs, while Tristan has already skipped school for 3 days to breed his. With the golden one, he wipes out Tia's and Joey's Tamagotchi, as then Tristan finishes him off with his. The 3 sleepless nights were clearly worth it. As revenge, he kidnaps Miho and ties her up in a warehouse. But it wasn't Kushirada at all, but Hayama. He used to give Kushirada money to raise his Tamagotchi, and because he screwed up, he punished him. Yugi also joins in and is whipped along with Tristan so that Yami can come out and play again. They let their Tamagotchis fight each other, with Yami's evolving in the fight, thus winning the battle. Hayama's monster eats its owner and the day is saved. Kaiba is still pissed off at only achieving a draw against Yugi. He is now called into the sick room by the nurse to have a duel, which Yugi actually loses. She takes a card from him and Yugi has to go back to class. Psych! That wasn't a nurse at all, but just a doll of one of Kaiba's employees. What the fuck? How did Yugi miss that guy? Kaiba, however, sees that Yugi has a second personality and wants to tease it out. After school, Yugi goes to the game store to play the latest game, but is only taken outside and kidnapped by Kaiba himself. He's taken to the House of Dolls, which is just very slightly nightmare material. Again, there's a duel between the puppeteer and Yugi, but this time Yami intervenes and wins the thing easily. The puppeteer goes home. Kaiba is even angrier now. A student is caught by a yo-yo gang, which yo-yoed him out of life. Because this is the latest trend, and because the gang abused yo-yos to beat people, Joey wants to beat them up. However, he misses the next day. Our friends get worried, so first they go to his house, where his alcoholic father throws bottles at them. Well, their search continues, and Joey is quickly found. He is now part of the gang, just like Buggy's brother. He beats Yugi while Joey stays still and goes with the gang, which are his old friends from middle school. Another attempt to get Joey back fails again when Tristan gets beat up by Joey. Tristan challenges the boss out, fucks up against his gold yo-yo and is protected by Yugi. Yugi gets tied up as punishment and just gets beat up, and then Joey comes along and tries to help Yugi. After all, he only joined the gang as long as they didn't touch his friends. So now he bravely withstands the yo-yo attacks, frees Yugi and gets knocked down. Yami comes back, lures the gang to the roof and plays a yo-yo game. The last one on the roof wins. Yugi has punched a hole for the gang through which they all fall, and Joey has also won against the boss in the fight. A teacher terrorizes the school with way too strict rules and an absolutely shitty character. In addition, someone is in love with Joey. That's why Tia, Miho and Yugi are looking for a suitable gift for her, which she secretly wants to give to Joey. But Miss Finster notices, tears it open and ruins everything. Tia takes the blame, has a one-on-one talking with the teacher, and then gets a bad reputation with the other teachers. Through this action, the teachers ask her questions that she couldn't even answer yet and hinder her as much as they can. Also, other students are incited to make trouble so that Tia can get kicked out of school. It's just too bad that Yugi overhears this and Yami can interfere. If the teacher loses, she leaves Tia and Ko alone. If she wins, Yugi does what she wants for her. The rule: reassemble a puzzle from a shattered mirror. Blindfolded. She's even nicely told that this is a shadow game and she would better not break the rules, which she ignores and could only win by cheating. Her teacher's face falls off like a puzzle, which is why her true self comes out. No one gets punished anymore, the teacher now always has a ton of makeup on, and when she even begins to show her true face, the mask crumbles immediately. Miho is given a lot of capsule monsters. Her admirer is a friend of Yugi who has quite an addiction problem with them. He now tries to get her with teamwork. Yugi is supposed to attack Miho, which is of course directly exposed, and the addicted rescues her. Only he gets beaten, which he can't let sit on his honor as a capsule monster champion. He now finds the blame with her friends who are directly poisoned, thus giving them gripes by dirty water. And revenge gives as well-known revenge. Miho and Yugi go to his hideout to beat him up. He proposes a game of capsule monster. If he loses, he leaves them alone. If he wins, Miho must marry him. The monsters were drawn. Miho has 3 1s, a 2 and a 4, while the opponent has 3 5s and 2 4s. That's what happens when the guy manipulates the output thing too. So Yami steps in again. He continues to play the game for Miho and wins it with a secret effect. First he brought all monsters into a diagonal position to him and then he shattered him with them. The guy is locked up, everything is good again. In a game show, one guy dominates everything and 3 guesses where he goes to school. Exactly, in Yugi's class, and just sits down right next to him. Not only that, but he also draws Miho's attention to himself, which Sim Tristan absolutely doesn't like. Joey is also very suspicious about him. The guy is also non-stop lucky though, so even Yugi owes him something. Joey has had enough. He wants to finally become his student. Oh, yeah, too bad Tristan. Joey, the man of honor, doesn't want to do anything stupid with his luck and just enrich himself, but he wants to pay off his father's debts. However, he notices because of his undercover action that the guy is quite a bastard. He is supposed to go up against Yami next for Kaiba. First provoke him with a nice party billiard against his mouth and invite him on TV so that Yugi can compete against him. Only Joey goes for Yugi, who loses directly. Show over. Yami also wants his fun with him and they repeat the game but with a stronger electric shock. Yugi loses once, twice, 3 times, but because the electrocution is so strong, the fuse blows. The game starts over again with reshuffled cards, so the lucky guy accidentally draws the Joker and automatically loses, and Yami just flies around with his desk. Well, no, the one is definitely haunted by bad luck. A house burns down, just as it was prophesied. The boy with the prophecies of course also goes to the school of Yugi, even though he's probably already 100 years old. While Joey is also completely taken in by him, Tia and Yugi think that this is complete nonsense. He prophesies a vague future for Joey and Tia. Joey is about to come true, so now Tia starts to waver. She goes to him again, gets something else predicted, and now Yugi loses her to him too, because of his cheap tricks. Next, the fortune teller knocks Tia out at a meeting, but is stopped by Yugi for worse. For he wants to play again. Strings are attached to a clock that are cut off one by one every minute. The strings are attached to bottles and the 2 players are to take turns catching the severed bottles. 1 for Yugi, 1-1. 2 won by saving with the puzzle. 2 remain, which the others screwed up, and Yugi won. Yami carries Tia out and the hoax of the prophecy guy is busted. But not only that, but Tia notices an injury on Yugi. Just like the one who saved her yesterday. A bomber plays a quiz at the hospital with the inspector, who screws up the quiz and the bomb goes off. Tia wants to confirm her suspicions and goes with Yugi to the amusement park. The other 3 spy on her of course, and the inspector gets another call from the quiz bomber. Meanwhile, Yugi enjoys his date, and Tristan has also turned the 3-way spying into a date. Tia keeps pretending she's in danger, so Yugi brings out his alter ego and rescues her. In the process, Joey's operation is busted and there goes the 2-on-1 date. Tia is in the Ferris wheel when a bomb went off, trapping her and a few others. Everything now depends on the inspector. Depending on what color a selected balloon is, a gondola explodes. If he understands the meaning behind the color, he has won. Tia's gondola explodes for sure though, if they don't figure out what color their balloon is. Fortunately, Yami is quite okay at playing and gets it figured out easily. Yami gets a few more tips and is pretty much in trouble, while Tristan chillingly records it all. Yami now knows what's going on, goes to the power tower and has the solution. Game 1. Time for a second game. Yami now takes another white balloon. But no, white is not 1, but 13, where the assassin sits in. He is getting arrested, Yugi has saved Tia, all is well again. There must be a witch coven in town. Anyway, Yugi and Tia open some boosters, where Tia is lucky but gives Yugi the card. She still doesn't understand the double Yugi thing. That's understandable. But not only Tia seems to have fallen in love with Yugi, but now he has also received a love letter. He has a date. Risa comes to the park, gives him a sweater, but is put off by Yugi's Millennium Puzzle. Or by Yugi's 6 fingers. After school though, Yugi wants to ditch her. After all, Tia is pretty jealous and so is Kaiba. Risa, however, is only after the cards Tia gave Yugi. And Risa is not alone, there are 3 of them. Pulling off the puzzle and using that as a wager against the card. And without the puzzle, Yami can't save Yugi. In the middle of it all, Kaiba just comes in, takes over the duel with his deck and knocks out the 3 sisters with 2 blue eyes. He wants to be the one to win against Yami, so that's why he must send one quizmaster or game master after another at him. Alright. A doctor no longer takes his work seriously, so that people die. Of all places, Joey's little sister, whom he hasn't seen for ages and whose birthday is today, has been admitted to this hospital. Their parents got divorced, so they don't see each other that often anymore. He lives with their father and his sister lives with their mother. At the hospital, the sister is doing well and Joey falls in love with the nurse. Joey messes up a little because of Tristan's ingenious tips. The doctor keeps hitting on her while she keeps rejecting him. That's why he just fired her. But not with Joey. He wants to expose everything now, but then he would also kick his sister out of the hospital. So Joey can't do anything. He is powerless and starts crying, which Yugi doesn't like at all. Yami intervenes and records a conversation from the doctor challenging him to a game. The nurse wants to leave town now, so Joey quickly chases after her. And in the meantime, Yami and the doctor enjoy a bit of golf in the outhouse. Yami wins with a hole-in-one, which is why the door to the darkness opens and all the deceased patients grab the doctor. Joey now unfortunately has to say goodbye to the nurse, but at least the doctor is now completely freaked out, loses his job, and the sister is also fine. And Eileen comes to Japan because she likes to play games and Kaiba has the perfect opponent for her. In the card store she meets Yugi and Tia by pure coincidence. Because Tia is her biggest fan and is friends with Yugi, she sees her chance. She invites them to a place to put a spell on Tia or something, I don't know. While Yugi is setting up a game, Tia goes into the dance room with Eileen, takes a pose, gets whispered in her ear that she can't move anymore, and then apparently she can't either. And because it's about Tia, Yami comes by again. In the game, they sort of keep matching one character against another and the strongest one wins. Very roughly explained. First round draw, and for the extra kick, leave a damn tiger behind bars at Tia, and now whenever Yami loses a character, the cage opens up a bit. But Yami sees through her tactics, gets the coffin, frees Tia with it, and then Eileen tells Kaiba that Yami is better than him. Someone has a nightmare, is then also bullied, and is protected by Yugi and co. He wants to use the opportunity to make friends with Yugi. His first friends! He immediately invites his first friend to his secret base, where a dark, sealed game lurks, just as it did in his nightmare. With this, he beats his bullies and becomes a complete asshole. He wants Yugi to give him his homework because he didn't do it. So don't copy it quickly during the break or something, but just give it to him completely. Yugi doesn't do that, gets his puzzle taken away, and has to win it back in the secret hiding place in the dark game. Who loses the game loses also his soul, which Yugi unfortunately even loses. Luckily their puzzles still get to grab, and from therefore Yami can fix the thing again. He wins, Yugi gets his soul back, and also the opponent probably had two of them, which is why the evil one is sucked in and everything is back to normal. There's a popularity contest at school where Joey, Tia and the Kaoruko participate. Actually, Mio should also participate, but she has no desire. At least until she meets Bakura. Now she's on fire to get the thing! Everybody has his fan club, only Joey is alone there. Because Tia and Mio have too many fans, Kaoruko and her friends want to sabotage them a little. Tia's song is played incorrectly so that she can't jump properly and is therefore disqualified. Miho is also sabotaged by having her bikini shredded. She then just wears a mermaid costume. This takes both of them to the final round. For Kaoruko, however, it becomes a little too close. She gives Mio some chloroform in a side alley and shreds her next dress. Luckily Yugi finds her so Yami can get back into it. He plays "Do you want to buy a flower?" with Kaoruko, who each gets to draw up to 3 flowers at a time. Whoever draws the last one loses. There's one left, but Yami draws the one behind Kaoruko's ear and wins the game. She now sees herself only as an old woman and loses all her self-confidence. She has won the competition, but she will probably never be happy again. Then we see Mokuba for the first time. Kaiba has already lost his best players. All but one. The one who taught Kaiba everything in the games. He quickly wins a company duel and is about to return to the hospital when Yugi suddenly seems to not want to live anymore and jumps right in front of the car. As revenge, finish him off mercilessly in Duel Monsters at the hospital. Oh well, besides, the grandpa is actually already no longer alive. He's practically dead and is only just kept alive with a lot of artificial stuff. Kaiba's father comes to visit, who was deceased by Seto and is therefore no longer the president of the Kaiba Corporation. As the official president, Seto gives the old man the task of destroying Yami in a game. At the amusement park, Tia is captured to lure Yami out and let's go, the game begins. To make a long story short, Grandpa pretty much didn't stand a chance. In Duel Monsters, Yami is now already a bit skilled. Kaiba just leaves the grandpa on the ground and drives away insulted because he lost against Yami again. Oh yeah, and Mokuba is a real bastard. Bakura comes to Yugi's class, is adored by all the girls, but really just wants to touch Yugi's puzzle. Bakura seems to have something very similar. So first we go to a game store where all records are held by Kaiba. But not Seto, but by Mokuba Kaiba. It's still strange that Kaiba is the last name. Well, Tristan gets jealous again because Miho only cheers for Bakura and chases after him. Poor Sim Tristan. In the car race, Mokuba and Seto suddenly come with a message. They have kidnapped grandfather and want to compete with Yami in Kaiba Land. Yugi is now devastated. Can he really take on Kaiba and save his grandfather? In the arcade game against a stranger, he has at least won twice and beat him up. As a reward, he was beaten up by him. What's unfair, however, however, is that he steals the puzzle from him and runs off with it. Joey goes after him, they duel on a pipe, which Joey wins and brings the puzzle back to Yugi. He now also wants to join and support Yugi on Kyberland. We can see Bakura's ring as our friends set off for Kyberland the next morning. The opening for Kyberland is today, which is why our friends have quite a crowd when they try to save Grandpa, but he just gets separated from the others again with a trapdoor and now probably died from the impact or something. Well, the friends now have to play the live game Death D, which is watched by a lot of spectators. Round 1, laser tag against another team. Only the other team consists of former elite soldiers. Joey is dropped right away, Miho is spotted but shoots wildly and gets the 3 down because of it, so it's on to round 2. Everyone except Yugi have to push down a lever with numbers above them. Meanwhile, a robot comes at them to crush them. A lever must be released to win the game and Yugi gets the correct lever relatively quickly. Without a break, we move on to round 3, where blocks fall from the sky. Bakura is a spectator and notices that something attracts him, while Yugi and his friends recognize the rhythm of the falling stones and actually manage to get out of there. All except Tristan. So now the 4 of them move on to round 4, a 1 vs 1 capsule monster chess against Mokuba. Mokuba only allows himself level 5s, while Yugi also has quite weak ones. Yami lures Mokuba into a trap so that he self-destructs, gets to the development level and still has 1 monster left at the end, which is why he won. But before going to the last stage, Mokuba is taken out of the cube, because otherwise he would be further frightened by the holograms. Oh no, how horrible! Joey and Miho look for Tristan, get the tip from Bakura and find him in an hourglass together with Grandfather. Yami faces Kaiba in the final round. But before that, Joey and Miho get a visit from familiar faces. Eileen and Joey are given a suit while the other 2 control them. Whoever drops to 0 health first loses. But of course, the same is true for Yugi. He is struggling pretty hard too, especially because Kaiba got his blue eyes on the field pretty quickly. Yugi, however, has 4 Exodia pieces, needs just 1 more piece, while Kaiba has 3 blue eyes on the field. Victory seems to be far away, just as Joey has also lost all life points. But through the power of friendship, he gets some back for some reason, knocks out Eileen and thus wins the duel, just as Yugi also draws Exodia, summons it and thus also wins the duel, and cleans Kaiba's heart with a mind crush. But that's not the end of the evil. Bakura's evil self comes out and apparently also wants to fight the king of games next. Bakura can't greet our friends so well the next morning because he has hard shit. Well, actually only his chest hurts and he hears a voice. The sports teacher is the next super nice teacher who gets on everyone's nerves, and at Bakura's home we see that the ring has built itself into Bakura so that he can no longer take it off. The ghost of the ring wants the puzzle. Therefore he invites his friends and they play normally. Everyone creates his own character and they play Dungeons and Dragons. Only the NPCs are not simple figures, but real people which Bakura has once shrunk as figures. Like for example the sports teacher. In the game, the evil Zork has conquered the castle, and since then evil monsters have been causing stress in the world. A few dice fights later, they run into him. Bakura just locks them all in the matching figures, and then it's Yami Yugi against Yami Bakura. Zork's flesh turns into 2 more monsters. Zork leaves, so first destroy the monsters. But for doing so, dices have to be Beybladed. First a critical hit with a double 0, then an 8, but with an elbow strike the second dice hit the first again, so a 0 and a 2 came and it became a critical again. From now on you can't roll the dice like that anymore, just drop them. Arrived in the castle, there's trouble and make it double. They run into a trap, are now in trouble because of that, but then Zork comes in as well. By the effect of Miho, they get behind Zork and can attack all in a row. But that didn't really help much either. Yeah, well, he's missing a piece of the biceps and also he has a hole, but otherwise he's actually still quite good, because they are all only on level 1. It's obvious that Yami has almost no chance in the world that Bakura has created. But not only the NPCs are real people who follow Bakura's will, but also his dice. With that he crits everyone with Zork, which should actually make everyone dead as well. But through the power of friendship, everyone still has 1 HP and also Bakura's good self turns on again and takes over the left hand, because Zork is injured on the left arm. So just pull the laptop further away again. simply ingenious. The left hand rolled another 99, so a miss, which is why Zork attacks himself and Bakura impales his left hand on the castle as a punishment. Yami understands the connection with Zork's left arm and Bakura's left arm, gets Bakura out of Zork's arm because of it, and thus they have another ally. With Bakura's magic, he weakens Zork's defense, making even normal attacks extremely strong. However, Zork gets to his second form, which is even much stronger and also gets a super critical attack. Bakura manages to save everyone though, giving everything he could. A bit of Zork trimming and the decisive throw goes off. Both get a super critical, which would give Bakura the win. But not so fast. The other Bakura just breaks the dice with his soul, which Yami Bakura directly tries to wipe out, but is saved by the souls of his friends. Now our friends are allowed to attack first and defeat Zork with it, and free with it also all humans and ghosts, which were locked up in figures. As a thank you, Bakura gives all the figures of the characters as a present, and the end. Let's quickly get to a conclusion. We have 22 good, 5 average and no bad episode. Clearly a slightly different Yu-Gi-Oh, but not necessarily in a bad way. It was really fun to watch. Has of course only very few episodes to do with the card game, and even there it's quite different. But it's absolutely fun to watch Season 0.